All right, welcome. Today, we're going to dive deep into a certification that's been making some serious waves in the privacy world. It's called the Certified Privacy Operations Specialist, or CPOS for short. We're going to break down exactly what it is, who it's really for, and, what makes it so different from everything else out there.
And you know what? Let's just jump right in with this quote from the founders because it is so powerful. It says, "Too many courses talk theory. Too few explain how to actually run privacy." Man, that one sentence just nails a huge frustration that so many of us in the privacy space feel, right? That huge gap between knowing the law and actually knowing what to do with it day to day.
So, I gotta ask you, does that hit home? Are you just tired of talking theory? I mean, if you've ever found yourself staring at a privacy law thinking, okay, great, but what do I actually do now? Well, then you are absolutely in the right place. There's actually a name for this feeling. It's called the privacy theory trap, and it's exactly what it sounds like. That super frustrating cycle of knowing all the concepts, but just not having the practical, hands-on skills to put any of it into action.
And this really gets to the core of the problem, doesn't it? It's this massive gap between knowing something and actually doing it. I mean, sure, you might be able to recite GDPR articles in your sleep, but can you build a compliant record of processing activities, a ROPA? Or can you actually manage a data subject request, a DSR, all the way from intake to fulfillment? That's the gap we're talking about, and that's exactly what this certification is designed to fix.
So how do you cross that chasm? How do you get from just theory to real hands-on operations? Well, CKonnect sees their CPOS program as that bridge. It's designed from the ground up to take you from being a privacy advisor to being a privacy practitioner. So what is CPOS really? The official line is that it's a program to turn your theoretical knowledge into practical skill. But I want you to focus on that last line, because it's key. It doesn't just certify you, it operationalizes you. And what that really means is it's all about giving you the tools and the know-how to build, run, and manage privacy programs in the messy real world.
Okay, so who should be paying attention here? Well, it's for the privacy pros who are just craving that real-world mastery. It's for the lawyers and compliance folks who've been told to go do the work. It's for founders trying to get privacy right from day one. And it's definitely for the engineers who have to actually build this stuff. So yeah, if any of that sounds like you, then you're exactly who this is for.
Okay, so how does this whole thing work? It's not just one big info dump. It's structured as this really cool 4-level journey, where each piece builds very logically on the last, taking you all the way from the fundamentals to expert-level strategy. And here are the 4 big pillars of that journey. It kicks off with the absolute foundation, mapping and governance. You have to start there. Then it moves into the super critical work of risk assessment. From there, you get into the stuff the public actually sees, writes and notices. And it all culminates in the really complex, tricky world of consent implementation. See? It's a really smart, logical flow.
Let's look at level 1. They call it the Privacy Operations Bootcamp, which is perfect. You earn the Privacy Compliance Navigator badge, and this is where you master the bedrock of any privacy program. We're talking building ROPAs, running audits, getting your governance set up. And check this out, you don't just learn how, you walk away with the actual tools, a ROPA template, an assessment tracker, a whole governance blueprint.
Now, once that foundation is set, level 2 is all about risk. This is where you master things like privacy impact assessments, PIAs, and data protection impact assessments, or DPIAs. The stuff that regulators really care about. You'll earn the Privacy Risk Assessor badge by really getting your hands dirty with templates, risk scoring, and working through real-world scenarios. Level 3 is huge because this is where you become a privacy rights and notice champion. And this is so critical because handling data subject requests, DSRs, is probably the most public-facing and frankly high-risk part of your job. Here you learn to manage the entire workflow, build dashboards to track everything, and you even get something they call a global DSR decoder to help you sort out all the different rights under different laws. And finally, level 4. This is where you become a privacy consent strategy expert, which, let's be honest, is an incredibly valuable skill right now with all the different consent rules popping up everywhere. You get into the nitty-gritty of implementing consent management platforms, CMPs, managing those cookie banners, and comparing all the global rules. You walk away with a practical CMP guide and a consent matrix. It's pretty awesome. So you go through all 4 of these levels, right? And you're not just left with a head full of knowledge. No, you're armed with what the program calls the Practitioner's Toolkit. And the big headline here is this number, 20 plus. That's how many templates, tools, and dashboards you actually get to keep. So it's not just abstract knowledge, it's a tangible library of assets you can literally start using at your job the very next day.
And just to make that number feel real, take a look at this. It shows you exactly how these tools connect to the skills you learn. You get the ROPA template for your data mapping, the PIA demo for risk assessment, that awesome global DSR decoder for handling rights requests, and the CMP guide for consent. Every single tool has a direct, practical job to do.
So let's boil it all down. What do you actually walk away with? Well, it's the whole package. You get 4 specialist badges which roll up into one master CPOS certification. You get that toolkit with over 20 templates. You get lifetime access to their forum, a LinkedIn badge, but honestly, that last one might be the most important of all. Real-world confidence. The feeling that you can actually handle this stuff.
But to really get what this program is about, I think it helps to hear the origin story, the why behind it all. Because this wasn't just some certification churned out to make a quick buck. It was actually born from a very specific frustration.
And this quote from the founders, it just says everything. They built CPIOs because when they were starting out, they looked around and couldn't find a program that taught them what they actually needed to know to run privacy day to day. It was created by practitioners for practitioners to fill a gap they felt themselves.
And this really sums up the whole philosophy, right? While most courses get stuck on the theoretical what, this program, because it was built by people in the trenches, teaches the operational how. It's the fundamental difference between being prepared to advise on privacy and being prepared to actually go out and do privacy.
Which kind of brings us to our final question. And this one's for you to think about. After hearing all this, which one are you? And more importantly, which one do you want to be? A privacy theorist or a privacy doer? Because the answer to that question is really going to tell you if a program like this is the right next move for your career.